was like, do you know what? There is an inner rebel in me. There is a rebel inside that does not want to do what everybody else expects me to do or wants me to do. I'm not going to do that.
If you would like to cultivate more worth, freedom and expression in your life, you're watching the right video.
For me, freedom is about break is rebellious. It's not conforming. It's doing the things that people least expect from you, but also allowing and giving permission for others to do the same.
I'm a certified life coach, a human design reader, and I work with my clients to help them navigate feelings of unworthiness, to shed the weight of the expectations of others, and really to step into speaking their truth. In this 10 Minutes With interview series, I interview wellness experts for a precious 10 minutes for them to share their tips and tricks and their stories of how they have cultivated more worth, freedom and expression in their lives.
Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us for another 10 Minutes With interview. I am delighted to be joined by Mills Gray today, who will introduce herself in a moment. And we are focused, as always, on knowing your worth, feeling your freedom, and finding your expression. Mills, I would love for you to introduce yourself and let us know what you're going to focus on today.
Hello, thank you for having me. So my name is Mills Gray. I am a leadership and lifestyle coach. I'm also a regional vice president for a health and wellness brand. And my kind of role that I feel I have sort of developed into, I suppose, is I like to say I breathe belief into people. So I think often people don't believe in themselves, or they are stuck not believing in an idea that they might have, and so I really try and nurture that with them, but also just I feel like if people could be a little bit more empowered about the idea that they can do something, I think the world would just be a slightly better place. But I'm going to talk about freedom. And it's a very interesting subject to me because traditionally at school, I'm 43. So when I went to school, I'm dyslexic. Dyslexia was kind of like, people knew about it, sort of. It was quite new. And if you were just kind of considered a little bit stupid, essentially. Times have moved on. So at school, I always struggled. I hated most subjects. I loved drama. I kind of loved art, but wasn't brilliant at it. And I scraped into uni through a side door, through something called an HND, which all my friends said meant have no degree. They was like, oh, you're on an HND, that's have no degree. I was like, oh, whatever, I'm here. And I did scrape through. I left and I was very much like, shit, I don't really know what I'm going to do with myself. There's nothing I really like. I loved horse riding. I loved sport. But I didn't know I just didn't know what to do. And I feel that life is so conforming. It's like you go to school, you go to uni, you leave, you go to have a corporate career, you find a partner, you settle down, you have kids, you get married, you have kids, you retire, and
it's exhausting just as you list it, isn't
it? It's like And so I left uni and I was like, here we go, got to start this whole kind of adulthood, not feeling aligned with anything really. And I fell into sales and I left sales slightly because of an incident. I suffered post-traumatic stress following something that happened to me, and I left the UK. I was like, do you know what? It was just like, I'm done being here doing this adulting. I'm out, and I'm just going to go and essentially I just wanted to take sort of 6 months maybe traveling. And I went to this beautiful Thai island, which I'd been to before. And I'd been on holiday there like 2 years previously. I knew that travelers kind of went there. So I knew that although I was going to be alone, I would probably meet people. And I started scuba diving. And I discovered the underwater world. Like, this is amazing. God, I'm never going back to England. I am staying here forever. And I kind of forever turned into about 4.5 years. I didn't stay on that one island. I kind of traveled around. But that whole experience was my first taste of what I consider real freedom. And the reason it was freedom was because I was kind of free to do what I want. It didn't matter that I didn't have corporate career. It didn't matter that I wasn't wearing certain clothes or having this or not having that. It just was very liberating. And so when I came back to the UK, I wanted to be part of a kind of movement that I'd adulted more as well. So I'd slightly grown up, and I was like, do you know what? There is an inner rebel in me. There is a rebel inside that does not want to do what everybody else expects me to do or wants me to do. I'm not going to do that. And I would question anybody who's watching this to just be kind of ask yourself, are you doing something that you enjoy? And what does bring you joy? Because you do not have to go and do the scuba dive instructor and, you know, do what I'm not saying that.
That's one way.
that is one way. And trust me, it's really bloody good fun. However, you don't need to do that to discover freedom. I just think being free is such a free from what? First of all, what is it that you want to be free from? What does freedom mean to you? Does freedom mean living with no mortgage? Does freedom mean having a house that you can live in the countryside and grow your own food and not have to go shopping in a huge supermarket? Like, what is freedom? What is it? So define it first of all, because without knowing what your true freedom is, you're not really going to know what it is. So for me, freedom is about break is rebellious. It's not conforming. It's doing the things that people least expect from you, but also allowing and giving permission for others to do the same. It's having that freedom of speech to say, I think that, you know, what you're doing is great, but that's not for me, and allowing people to be like that. And I think just everybody needs like a sprinkle of open-mindedness, because I kind of also put freedom and open-mindedness in the same bracket. And so yeah, my question would be, do you know what joy is? Do you know what lights you up? Do you do the thing that lights you up? Are you working towards that, or are you at a crossroads and you're like, actually, I don't know? And, you know, I'm not suggesting that it has to be to do with work. It can be with relationships. Are you free in your relationship? I always think that, you know, to be happy, you have to be happy yourself. No one else is going to make you happy. And although it doesn't happen so much anymore, but I remember when I was younger, we'd often talk about our partners, and it would be like, well, when they do this, they'll change and then that will be better. And it's like, are you allowing that freedom to be yourself or them to be themselves? So I just think freedom is just a very interesting kind of, it's an interesting take on life. And I don't think many people are free. I think many people are trapped, because I think the opposite of freedom is trapped. And I think that we can, sorry, I've got a bit of an itchy eye.
Itch away. And what I hear whilst you itch, what you're saying is, when you completely change context, so, you know, having to have this certain job, having to have it a certain way, having this designer thing, or whatever it is that your current context is, pick yourself up and drop yourself into a completely different country. Suddenly your Gucci shoes are valueless. Like when you're on the beach and you're scuba diving, like it puts that shift that puts everything into context. And also that idea when you were talking of like, really, it's conditioning, and when you're in it you don't know it's conditioning because you think that's the way it has to be.
It's the conditioning. And just be open-minded. Often people with such a huge opinion against it is just showing a mirror of like, what are they scared of themselves? Like, what is it that what's showing up for you when you think of somebody who or something that you don't agree with? Just take a look at that, because you're not free in your thoughts if you're having that. It's like
you're so fiercely against something, often
something
else at play. And it's interesting you mentioned relationships. I think for me, I was so career focused. The whole message behind this whole series has come out of having to take a real life stock check of what was going on inside of my relationships. Like, you can focus on your career, but actually, how am I communicating with my family? Where am I keeping my mouth quiet and shut, where actually I really need to find my voice here, and all those things. So yeah, it's really interesting you mentioned those on the topic of freedom.
Yes.
Oh, it's a juicy topic.
It is a juicy topic.
What would be for anyone watching thinking, like, that's a really nice idea, like I want some of that, what would be a place to start?
I think would be to really unpeel the onion and be like, what is it, first of all, what do I think freedom is? What is your definition of freedom? What does it involve? And write that down and just brainstorm that, brain dump all of the things that come up about the word freedom. What does it mean? And then look at it and say, like, am I working towards that? Or am I working towards something else that is maybe somebody else's freedom? So it's, first of all, you think you need to know what it means to you, because it means different things to everyone. And also that element of what brings you joy. Walk towards the joy. Go head towards the joy with no judgment of what it's gonna, whether you're allowed to, whether you should, whether you shouldn't, whether just what brings you joy, and what does the word freedom mean to you? What is freedom?
Beautiful. And I love both freedom and joy, and that whole idea of brain dumping, like really just beginning to explore, beginning to think, and letting it be an organic process. Or not. You can run towards joy as fast as you can. If you have a direction, take a marathon towards it. Go as fast as you please. It doesn't necessarily have to be slow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I speak to women all the time who don't actually know. They can't even tell themselves. They can't even be honest and go, I actually don't know what brings me joy. And that's totally fine. If you're in that situation that you don't know, then it's about working out what you definitely don't like. And then going, okay, well, I don't like that. So now let's look at perhaps things that I do like, and not feeling that you're alone in that. There's so many people who do that. And that's free and liberating in itself. Working on yourself.
The permission to even ask and explore and go for it.
Not hide under the carpet. Don't just bury it. Oh, it's all fine. It's all good. I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing, and this is the right thing, and I will get my house, and I will get my mortgage, and I will get my kids, and I will get my good job, and I will, this is, it's just cut that. Bring out the inner rebel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring out the inner rebel. What a beautiful note to end in. That's it. If you heard nothing else in the last few minutes, bring out your rebel.
Yeah.
Mills, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
It's been an absolute blast. I will share all of your details wherever people can find you. I'll make sure that it's underneath this video. And I say until the next time, because I know there will be a next time.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for this interview. I hope that it's been insightful. Please hit like, hit subscribe so you don't miss any of these in the future. And if you want more tips and tricks and stories about cultivating more worth, freedom and expression, come and join me over on Insta at the What If Coach Faye.